India and the Maldives have shared a long history of close diplomatic and cultural ties, rooted in geographical proximity, historical connections, and mutual cooperation. However, in the past decade, there were significant ups and downs in their relationship, culminating in a rift and later a re-establishment of cordial ties. India was one of the first countries to recognize the Maldives after its independence from British protection in 1965. Since then, the two nations maintained a strong relationship based on economic cooperation, military support, and cultural ties. Joint military exercises and disaster relief efforts, like after the 2004 tsunami, solidified this bond. 1988, Operation Cactus, India intervened to foil a coup attempt in the Maldives when mercenaries tried to overthrow the government of then-President Mohammad Abdul Gayoom. Indian forces swiftly restored order, which further strengthened ties between the two nations. Economic aid. India has consistently supported the Maldives through economic aid, trade, and development projects. Infrastructure development, educational exchanges, and health cooperation were central areas of support. The rift, 2013 to 2018, tensions between India and the Maldives began to emerge during the presidency of Abdullah Yameen, who ruled the Maldives from 2013 to 2018. Yameen's presidency saw a notable shift in the Maldives' foreign policy, particularly in its relationship with India and China. Several factors contributed to the rift during this period. Shift towards China. During Yameen's presidency, the Maldives began to align more closely with China, both diplomatically and economically. China made large investments in infrastructure projects as part of its Belt and Road Initiative (BRI), including bridges, airports, and housing projects in the Maldives. This shift made India wary of China's increasing influence in the Indian Ocean region, an area traditionally within India's sphere of influence. Chinese debt trap. There was growing concern that the Maldives, under Yameen, was falling into a Chinese debt trap. With massive Chinese loans, many feared that the Maldives might become economically dependent on China, which could lead to strategic control over key assets like ports and airports. Indo-Maldivian tensions. Yameen's government began taking steps that alienated India. Ignoring Indian concerns. Yameen ignored India's calls for the release of political prisoners, including former President Muhammad Nasheed, and for fair elections. Suspension of the Indian helicopter program. The Maldives asked India to withdraw 2 helicopters that India had gifted for coastal surveillance, which symbolized growing diplomatic tension. India grew concerned about China's expanding footprint in the Indian Ocean. Moreover, the India Out campaign, which protested the presence of Indian military personnel, further strained the relationship. Visa issues. Yameen's government delayed visas for Indian workers, and Maldivian officials publicly criticized India's influence, straining people-to-people ties. Internal political crisis. Yameen was accused of authoritarianism, including the jailing of political opponents and manipulating the judiciary. The 2018 state of emergency declared by Yameen, along with his refusal to heed India's calls for democratic reform, deepened the rift between the two nations. The rift between India and the Maldives began to heal following the defeat of Yameen in the 2018 presidential elections. His successor, Ibrahim Muhammad Solih, marked a significant shift in Maldivian foreign policy. Solih prioritized the restoration of friendly ties with India and reassessed the Maldives' heavy dependence on China. Under President Solih, the Maldives adopted an India-first policy, signaling a return to closer cooperation with New Delhi. Solih made it clear that India is a key partner for the Maldives in areas such as defense, economic cooperation, and tourism. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi was the first foreign leader to visit the Maldives after Solih's election in 2018, underscoring the significance of the renewed partnership. The two nations reaffirmed their commitment to strengthening ties in multiple areas. India announced major assistance programs for the Maldives, including a $500 million package for infrastructure development, particularly for the Greater Mali Connectivity Project, GMCP, a bridge project that connects the capital Mali to nearby islands. India's line of credit, LOC, has been used for various development projects such as water supply, sewerage systems, and port development in the Maldives. Defense and security cooperation resumed under Solih's government, with India providing military aid, naval assistance, and joint patrolling of the Indian Ocean to safeguard against piracy and terrorism. The Maldives reintroduced Indian visas for workers, and tourism between the two countries flourished once again. India remains one of the largest sources of tourists to the Maldives, contributing significantly to the Maldivian economy. While restoring ties with India, the Maldives under Solih continued to balance its relations with China. Though it remains cautious of Beijing's growing influence, the Maldives has signaled that India remains its closest partner. As of 2024, India and the Maldives share strong diplomatic, economic, and security ties, with a continued focus on mutual cooperation. The strategic and geopolitical significance of the Maldives in the Indian Ocean remains a vital part of India's neighborhood policy, and India has been working to ensure that the Maldives remains within its sphere of influence, countering Chinese expansion in the region. Although President Muhammad Muizzu initially echoed the India out rhetoric, his government has now reconnected with India, recognizing its critical role in the Maldives' economy and security. During his visit to India in October 2024, both nations agreed on several initiatives. India extended financial aid, including a $400 million currency swap, and both nations committed to bolstering defense cooperation, maritime security, and development projects. The Maldives is a crucial part of India's Indian Ocean security strategy, which seeks to counter Chinese influence in the region. The two countries regularly cooperate on naval exercises, maritime security, and combating terrorism and piracy. India has pledged continued economic support for infrastructure development, including financing housing, water supply, and port projects, reinforcing its influence in the Maldives. India remains a significant source of tourists, and cultural exchanges between the two countries continue to foster positive relations. As long as the Maldives continues on its current democratic trajectory, the relationship between India and the Maldives is likely to remain stable. However, the influence of political shifts, such as the return of a Kachina leader like Yamin, could once again strain the relationship. The India-Maldives relationship has evolved significantly over the years, from strong diplomatic ties to a brief period of tension and now a renewed partnership. The current focus on economic cooperation, maritime security, and people-to-people relations has solidified the bond between the two nations. Despite China's growing influence, India's historical ties and strategic importance to the Maldives will likely keep the two countries closely aligned in the foreseeable future. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more updates on global geopolitics. We have some amazing videos coming up, so stay tuned and make sure to hit the subscribe button for more.